Tyrese Haliburton was voted as the most overrated player in the NBA. Not by the fans and not by the media, but by the same guys he shares the court with. 14% of the players who took the vote gave him that title, and once that poll dropped, it got loud. Crowds started chanting overrated.
That kind of eliminates the kick out.
Twitter ran wild with it, and every podcast and every studio show treated him like a fraud with a jump shot.
His superstar subscription has ended. His Linsanity run has ended. Not putting any feet in the paint, not generating any rim pressure, shooting bricks. It's atrocious.
And to be honest, it looked like they might have been right. I mean, the Pacers had cooled off, Haliburton did not make an all-star team, and people started saying his breakout last year was just a fluke. But then the playoffs tipped off, and Tyrese Haliburton, that so-called overrated player, well, he's turned into one of the most dangerous men on this planet.
Just control what I can, man. Yeah, I mean, overrate that.
Now, this is not the first time Tyrese and the Pacers have been slept on. Last year, they made a Cinderella run all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they did it without some stacked roster or an elite defense. They knocked off the Bucks, they survived the Knicks, and for a moment, it felt like Indiana was back on the map. Haliburton was the centerpiece of all of it. He led the league in assists, he ran the show like a floor general, he wasn't overpowering teams, he was outthinking them. But here's the thing, nobody really gave them credit for that run. People called it lucky, or they pointed to the other team's injuries. They did not see a real contender, just a nice little story. And once this season started, that doubt didn't go anywhere. Even as Haliburton kept putting up numbers, even after Pascal Siakam was an all-star, even after they finished as one of the most efficient offenses in the league, nobody was scared of the Indiana Pacers. The narrative was set, they were fun and they were fast, but they had the most overrated player leading the way. And Haliburton, well, he heard all of it, and then came round one, and with it, a point to prove. Now, Tyrese's first chance to flip this script came against the Bucks. On paper, the matchup looked lopsided. I mean, Milwaukee boasted the former MVP in Giannis, who was playing the best basketball of his career. And yet the Pacers, fueled by their leader, well, they had other plans. Because what unfolded next was a stunning 5-game upset that sent shockwaves throughout the entire league. And right from game one, Haliburton set the tone. He dissected Milwaukee's defense with savvy passes and timely three-pointers, guiding Indiana to an early series lead. And as those games progressed, it became clear that this was not a fluke. Haliburton was outplaying the Bucks all-star on the biggest stage. He was pushing the tempo in transition, he was picking apart mismatches, and he even took on the challenge of guarding Lillard. And with each Pacers win, the disbelief grew as that overrated kid was dominating one of the NBA's premier players. But then came Game 5, and with it, the truly defining moments. You see, Indiana held a 3-1 series lead, but now trailed on their own home floor in a desperate overtime battle. Giannis was throwing everything at the Pacers, soaring for dunks, swatting shots, and piling up a 30-point triple-double to stave off elimination. Now, the Bucks were holding on to a 7-point lead with a minute to play in overtime, and the crowd was holding its breath. I mean, could Indiana really close this out, or was Milwaukee about to force a Game 6? Well, Haliburton answered that question with the poise of a season killer. First, he kicked it out to Andrew Nembhard for a corner three, slicing the deficit to 4. Next, he attacked off the dribble, absorbed contact, and nailed a N1 layup with 17 seconds left. He coolly sank the free throw, and suddenly it was a 1-point game, and on the next possession, the Bucks fumbled the ball, giving Indiana one last chance. And with the game on the line and the series up for grabs, Haliburton seized the moment. He took the inbound pass, he blew past Antetokounmpo, and floated up a layup high off the glass with 1.4 seconds remaining. The ball dropped through the net to put the Pacers up 1, and that shot had just sealed the series. Haliburton leaped onto the scorer's table, arms stretched wide as the Indianapolis crowd exploded, and in that moment, he wasn't overrated, the man was legendary. Indiana's 8-0 run in the final 40 seconds of overtime slammed the door on Milwaukee, and Haliburton finished the clincher with 26 points and 9 assists, but the numbers only begin to tell the story, because he just went toe-to-toe with one of the league's titans and emerged victorious. Now, that series wasn't just an upset over Milwaukee, because the Indiana Pacers had just announced the arrival of Tyrese Haliburton as a force to be reckoned with. Now, heading into the second round, this was supposed to be the series that brought the Pacers back to earth. I mean, the Cavaliers were the #1 seed for a reason. They had the best defense in basketball, playoff experience, and the kind of depth that made analysts pick them to win the entire thing. And after the Pacers took down Milwaukee, the media said it was a fluke that Indiana just got lucky. But Cleveland, well, that was the real test. Now, the Cavs started game 1 on fire, up 15 early, feeding off the home crowd and bullying the Pacers in the paint. But Indiana didn't flinch, they just chipped away, and before long, that lead had vanished. Tyrese didn't try to do too much, he just controlled the tempo, found open shooters, and let the game come to him. And by the time that final buzzer sounded, Indiana had stolen game 1 on the road, and all that fluke talk, it was starting to fade. In game 2, Cleveland punched back. They tightened up defensively, forced turnovers, and even the series, but something had changed. The Pacers knew that they could hang with the big dogs, the Cavs weren't scary, in fact, they were beatable. And when this thing shifted back to Indiana, it got flat out ugly. Game 3 was an absolute beatdown. The Pacers ran Cleveland out of the gym. Haliburton didn't even need to score 30, he just kept feeding his teammates. It was team basketball at its peak. The ball zipped around, everyone touched it, and the Cavs simply couldn't keep up. In Game 4, it was more of the same. Siakam went off, Nembhard made plays, and Haliburton orchestrated the entire thing like a true professional. And just like that, the Pacers had taken a 3-1 lead and did it looking completely in control. But Game 5 is where it all came together. You see, back in Cleveland, the Cavs had came out desperate. They built up a 19-point lead behind a roaring crowd, and it looked like they were finally ready to swing the momentum. The Pacers were on the rope, the moment felt too big, and then Tyrese Haliburton lit the fuse. He went on a personal 22-point tear, burying threes, controlling every possession, and leading Indiana on a stunning 54-24 run. He turned a blowout into a comeback and then into a coffin. He finished the game with 31 points, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds on just 15 shots. He torched the league's best defense in their own building to end their season. This wasn't just a lucky run, and this was not a fluke. Haliburton and the Pacers didn't just beat Cleveland, they exposed them. The top seed just lost all 3 of its home games, and the so-called most overrated player in the league, well, he was the one to send them packing. Now, when that anonymous player poll dropped, the one that called Haliburton the most overrated, it felt like it could have been a turning point. And not just for how people talk about Tyrese, but for how he viewed himself. Because he could have folded, he could have let the noise shake his confidence and let the doubt define him. But instead, he let it fuel him. First, he took down Giannis and the Bucks and hit the game winner to do it. Then, he went on the road and dismantled the top-seeded Cavaliers with a 19-point comeback and a 31-point masterclass. And now, that title of overrated, well, it feels like a complete joke. Because he's far from it. In fact, he's overlooked and he's underappreciated. But he's making sure everybody never forgets his name ever again. Because what we're witnessing isn't just a redemption arc, it is a statement. Tyrese Haliburton heard everything you said, and now he's making you regret it one series at a time.